Good,
Mary.
thanks.
Good. How are
Well, we
you?
want to hear your story about how you found out about Lab Rescue and got involved with the organization.
Great. Well, I'll take that question. We had two labs that were purebred labs that had both died one after another, and I was absolutely heartbroken. We were both heartbroken, actually.
From lymphoma.
From lymphoma. They were 11 and 12, so they had good long lives. But I started surfing the web to see, you know, what else was out there to go adopt. And I had always adopted dogs. I'd had mostly mixed, but recently the paper dogs. And I happened to get on the Lab Rescue site, Golden Gate Lab Rescue. And I was looking at a lot of these dogs, and I was reading the story, and I went away from the computer. And the next day, I found out we had volunteered to foster. Kathy had volunteered us. And I had trouble with it. I was so concerned I couldn't let the dog go. But from the very first foster we got, you know, we both fell in love with these two dogs. And we got two dogs that had medical needs. We had one that was going to have an eye out, and the other one broken leg, Riley.
Right. And one of the things when I filled out the form, I have to say Golden Gate Labs sent out this couple, Tom and Dale, to inspect our house. So they walked around the yard, and they were all like, you know, they saw that we had these beds. Carol couldn't get rid of the beds or the dog bowls of the our two dogs that had died. And they're like, you have these big, huge, you know, orthopedic beds. You got two here, you got two there. You've got this great yard for them. So Golden Gate did their due diligence to have us be fosters. And when we got the two dogs, it was, I had said that I had medical knowledge. I have 20 years of human medical. And I think that's why our first two, Shadow had a tumor in the eye that had to be, we were first of all just going to transport him, to help transport him.
Right.
Because we already had Riley, who had like a 10-inch plate and a big long incision, and we had to be taking care of this big Riley dog. So you're right. We started with two medical dogs, which got us going to set up pens and triage areas and stuff in the house, outside of the house, how they could sleep. Because we don't have any steps, that was another positive for the medical.
We had a pen in the house right here in the living room, right in front of us. So Riley would be inside, and then we would leave him outside during the day with Shadow
in the pen.
And so anyway, I fell in love with Shadow, and she fell in love with Riley. Well, we love both dogs, and I was still having trouble with, you know, letting the dog go. And we had, the great thing about Golden Gate is they have this long list of people who are already approved, which is so great. Now, they have very few fosters, so I would encourage anybody who thinks like me that they couldn't let the dog go, think again, because what happened for me was a gift. And I got to meet the greatest person who adopted this dog. She was an Irish gal, and she'd had a black lab, same thing as Shadow, brought over from Ireland, and her family loved dogs. And she met Shadow and just fell in love with him. Even though he only had one eye, we had called him the one-eyed Jack. And it was neat because I got to meet the family and really pick the fosters or pick the adoptees ourselves. So that was cool. And so I let him go, you know.
Well, and part of it is, as a foster, you have first dibs at it. So if we had wanted to keep Riley, we could have. And if Carol had wanted to keep Shadow, we could have. But meanwhile, Golden Gate had a perfect home for Riley out on a ranch with that had therapy dogs for autistic children and special needs children.
Another wonderful home.
And so
cool.
You know, I met Melanie and her boyfriend at the time, now husband. They came, and I got to see them interact with Riley. He was just kind of getting rehabbed here because they had steps. They had like 10 steps, and he couldn't for 6 weeks go live with them. And they were going to be heartbroken if I had decided to keep Riley.
And they were great.
I mean, that's how it does, where you think, I'm so attached to this dog, I can't get rid of him. But when you start to interact with the people that come to look at these dogs and see the kind of homes they're going to be, and continue to meet people. We went out to the ranch then. We saw him with horses,
which was really cool.
We've gone for walks with Shadow's mom.
And Vanessa would write us these wonderful emails. She was a writer, and so she would tell us these great stories about how Shadow was doing with the cats and the boys. And, you know, it was so neat because we got to continue staying in touch because she knew that we, you know, wanted to make sure he was okay. And So that was such a gift because I realized I could indeed let go of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened for us was because Belle and Bo had died, we were empty nesters.
Yes.
And so we kind of glommed on to these two dogs and wanted to keep them. And we both agreed that it was just too soon.
Mhm.
And our first foster shouldn't be our adoptee. And so letting them go to those wonderful homes was the best thing. So
Mhm.
that's how we.
And
we did it.
as fosters, we're so involved with that to find out, the people come here, they meet the dog, we take them for a walk on the trail, we get to see how the dog interacts with the people, how
Yeah.
the kids are. And
Mhm.
if we don't feel something's right, Golden Gate Lab lets us as fosters have huge input to say, we just don't think this is a good match, send other candidates. And
I think with Emma, that was the case. Our most recent foster, it was the first time we went out to a shelter to get the dog. And that's a really hard thing to see because it was in Stockton and it was very, it was hard because it was by the freeway and she was terrified. And she probably wouldn't have been adopted because she was not in an environment.
and
that-
she had already been there
Let
like
her out.
12 weeks.
Mm.
And she was so thin.
Yeah.
I mean,
she'd had puppies.
terrified.
She was
They
terrified.
thought she was about 1 year old, but to be at a shelter almost 3 months and not to have been adopted, to still be that thin, she was just terrified. And the people said to us, "Now this dog takes us 10-15 minutes to put a collar on her. Don't expect to be able
Yeah.
to take her home
Wow.
and have her be like a normal backyard, gonna play with you."
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
they got her on her side. She crawled out of the shelter as they were pulling her out. We
Yeah.
had taken a transport cage.
Yeah, it took about 30 minutes
Yeah,
to get her
to-
into the car.
Mm.
And once we got her in the car, it wasn't 10 minutes, honey?
I just turned around. We were on the road, and I said, I had already named her because I saw her picture. She was just an Emma to me. And I just said, Emma, this is the first day of the rest of your life, a good life. You're going to have a good life from now on. And she was like,
She did this
she was
huge
so
sigh.
tired.
She just did
Yeah.
this huge sigh. And by the time we got home, which was about a, 2.5 hour drive,
Yeah.
we introduced her to our other three.
Oh, she fit right into the
in
pack.
a neutral place. We went out to
Yep.
a green space. They were out there playing. I brought her out of the car. She rolled on her back in the grass. She was fine with the other dogs.
Oh, she was so happy to be on the grass. She was just like, ew, I love this green grass. It was so great. And, the other thing about having dogs at home when you do foster, it's nice because you've got one left when you give them up, at least. And Daisy here, she's like the big sister. She shows them around. Every dog that we've had, especially the girls, she would take them outside and follow them outside to make sure they're okay, go pee-pee, and show them where the bowls are. And she's kind of like big sister, takes care of the others. And
And Emma hadn't even
Tell her
been
she's
potty
the
trained.
babysitter.
We didn't even know that she wasn't housebroken. So we,
yeah, that was
Um,
kind of,
we learned from a few accidents. Oh my goodness, this 1 year old dog is not housebroken. But when you have other dogs and you're fostering, I mean, she learned immediately.
Yeah.
Because the other dogs went out on a schedule, and so she just followed them and copied them. But I mean, the first night, within, I don't know, an hour, 30 minutes of being here, she hopped up on the couch, laid on our legs.
Oh.
She slept.
She
We
was
got
very
pictures of her
comfortable.
her head on our shoulders.
Yep.
So it just
Yep.
shows us like,
She slept in the crate too.
Yeah.
She was crate trained.
Yeah.
So that was kind of good because the other dogs, Lily let her use her crate and Lily slept on the bed.
but
But-
they respond to love. And,
Oh, yeah.
and they felt safe. They respond
Totally
to the love.
transformed.
A completely different dog than 3 hours earlier. And people that work with dogs had said you'll never be able to have her, get a collar on her, get her in the
Wow.
backyard without a bunch of work. And I mean,
Yeah.
she just needed to feel safe.
She just totally changed. And the other thing is, the fosters get an opportunity to pick the forever home, which is really nice. And we were picky about Emma because Emma was a high energy dog. She probably had a little bit of German short hair in her. She's a beautiful dog, and everybody was interested in her. And so they had a lot of calls. But for some reason, the Berkeley immediate area did not really, we didn't find anyone that was really good. And we went through, I think, about 5 people. And finally, we found somebody in Novato who had worked at the Humane Society. She'd had this kind of a dog before.
Yes.
Was perfect. She she's training Emma, and she's like one-on-one. So because Emma needed some of that one-on-one time. So we've seen Emma a couple times since then.
We've gone swimming at the lake with her and
And
on
a hike.
hikes with her, and you know she
a
remembers
great
her
mom.
three
Oh.
her first foster
Oh,
pack.
she loves
and
these guys. Because we had her for about a month. 'Cause
Yeah.
it took us a while.
to find the right home
Right.
for her.
And some people weren't happy with us that we, said,
Said
hey, we
no.
don't think it's going to work. But the other thing about Golden Gate Lab Rescue is they're very picky about who they let the dog go to because they don't want it to be returned again.
Right.
And that is so key because it's just like a foster child. You don't want them going from home to home to home. So they're really good about that.
And it helps. The fosters are so key in assessing the dog. You know, like, is this dog good with cats? Is this dog good with other
Right.
dogs? How's the dog on
We
the
see the
trail?
dog.
We can give really an
behavior.
accurate picture so that Golden Gate can, match up a family like, oh, this dog probably shouldn't be with younger children, or, needs training.
Mm-hmm.
And Golden Gate is just, they're so committed to getting them the training that they need. The medical care that Golden Gate takes these dogs in. I mean, we tend to
Very
do
committed.
a lot of the longer rehabs now that we know we can give them up.
Right.
It's much easier to say, yes, we'll take a dog that has a medical need and keep it for 6 to 8 weeks as it heals. And Golden
Okay.
Gate's so committed to that. And with their, they just have this network of doctors and people
Yeah.
that work with that.
They've
And
got a great connection with all the vets around the area. And, Liz knows all these vets up and down the Bay Area. San Ramon, we went out to Bishop Ranch, which is a great hospital. And we went down to Carmel Valley, which has great vets down there. So, they're very financially behind
taking in
the dog and then going to the length to pay for the surgery. So, and I think that's what happens a lot of times. These dogs, they don't know. People don't understand it does cost money when things go wrong. And unfortunately, some people don't have the money, but there's a lot of people who want dogs who are willing to rescue instead of buy a purebred, from a breeder, which is, and a lot of these dogs are already purebreds from the breeder.
Yeah.
So they just, fell on hard times.
Yeah, and we, we've just felt so supported from Golden Gate Lab around that for medical. Like, they listen to us. We fostered a dog that had been given up in owner surrender, Bella, who had been locked in a crate 14 hours a day because the owner was working. And she came to us, she had a really bad urinary tract infection that, they listened to me. I said, can I run her to my
Dr.
vet?
Lennox.
Because of my medical background, and we got her on antibiotics right away, and, again, found her the perfect home.
Yep.
And so Golden Gate's really
Yeah.
committed to, if it takes 6 weeks, 8 weeks, follow-up surgery, they're there. And, there's other fosters like us that help with the medical dogs. And these dogs are, they're 1 to 2 to 3 years old, and they, yeah, exactly.
A lot of life left,
They're-
yeah.
Especially the orthopedic type surgeries, they're so good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part we had younger dogs, but the older dogs too are great dogs to adopt because you don't have to go through the training, the puppyhood, the chewing of, all the things in your house and having to train them, and they're mellow. Getting these dogs a little bit older is great. I know with Lily, we got her as a puppy, which isn't as often, but we got her from a couple that had been engaged and then they broke up.
She was a
So-
Valentine's Day present.
And I was like, Lily, where are you, Lily? Lily, come here, girl.
I'd love to see some
Come
pictures
on
of the
over.
other dogs that you've rehabbed too.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's Lily.
Great. There's the Lily Pod.
There's
She's got
Lily.
her favorite little, she's shy now. Hi, Lily.
Lily was flown in from North Dakota, and
Really?
she,
Yep.
Hey, maybe you're a Vikings fan.
Yeah, she probably is.
she was one that came
She's-
to us, and she had kennel cough like 2 days after we started fostering her.
Aw.
She gave it to the other two,
Yep.
and so then she couldn't be adopted out right away.
Oh,
Look at her.
Ham.
She's hamming for the camera.
That's her
That's
sheepy.
cute.
That's her sheepy.
Yeah, her dog
Yes.
walker gave her that.
So yeah, we'd love to show you some pics.
How many dogs have we had through the house? Kathy,
We've
have been
probably fostered about 15.
15, and we kept 3.
and we kept 3 of the 15.
Three
We've
is the
done a
legal
lot of,
limit.
I mean, there's so much help that for volunteers to give. The group of people at Golden Gate, it's just been one of the biggest gifts to meet this group of people. You know, people that do the pet fairs, people that do transport. We do more
great.
transport now because we have 3.
Right.
That fits for us more. I
It's
just
such a
can't.
great organization of people, and I mean, we've met so many nice friends that, you know,
We've kept in
love
touch
dogs, and you wouldn't, you know, it's like, what better thing to be doing than to be hanging out with the dogs?
Well, and the other thing
yeah, it's
too-
nice to meet people who love dogs, because not everybody does.
to just really plug that the number one reason that as we've talked to people and asked them to foster is that they're afraid they'll get too attached, and I just
Right.
can't say enough that the bridge between getting this dog before it's euthanized and getting it to a place
Riley.
like Emma, a safe place to be evaluated, to figure out how to, you know, how to match the dogs up. It's sometimes it only 3 days makes the difference of life and death. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 2
Yeah.
to find the perfect family and to get the dog posted.
Often it's only 2 to 3 weeks, so it's
Yeah.
really not that much, especially if you already have a dog, to have a foster for that short a period. And you know, it's just the bridge. It's so important to have that bridge because there's so many people who want these dogs, and the dog will be placed. They will go into the system. They will be taken care of. They will be placed, and in a good place.
So yeah, let's show some pics.
Yeah, you've got a picture of Riley there. I've got one too to show how big he was. If you wanna.
Riley came to us. He was the one that had a 10-inch plate. They had found him running and put him in a shelter, and 72 hours later he had still not had any veterinary care. They put him in shelters, and rather than get veterinary care, they wait to see if an owner will respond. During that time, the bones had moved across each other, and they weren't sure if they would have to amputate or if they could save his leg. And this speaks again to Golden Gate Lab. I mean, they take him to Bishop Ranch,
I
and
know.
they did this really complex surgery to pull the bones back apart, put a huge plate in and pins and screws.
Yep.
And this dog is running around on a horse farm now. So I think Adam got a couple pictures of him.
Here they both are in the living room. This is
The first 2 we talked about.
This is Shadow, and that's Riley. There with pajamas. I have a better picture of him. He was a big boy. That's a big bed. He was a big boy. He was probably 90 pounds at fighting weight. So
Yeah, he was real thin. He had been running loose for quite a while. And then here's one of Buster, who had a broken leg. Again, they felt like he had jumped off of something. He had a cut and broke his leg. He looks like he's a mix. And again, he hadn't been treated in time, and yet Golden Gate Lab was able to take care of him and allowed us to take him while we were fostering close to our vet right down here.
Wow.
Because the original cast didn't look good to me, how it had been set.
Yeah.
And they took it off and redid it, thank God, to save his leg. And so Golden Gate is just like, it's all about the dog. Whatever the
Absolutely.
dog needs. And then here's a picture of Buster in the home where he was
with his 2 brothers.
with 2 kids, to this wonderful gal and husband down in the South Bay. In
Yeah.
this big yard. I mean,
It's another big yellow lab, beautiful. I think again, people don't realize that these big dogs, they can hurt themselves, and then they're not indestructible, or they get too big, and people don't want to keep them because they're so big.
here's a picture of Howie. Howie came to us from Florida. His owner loved him enough to give him up. He drove him up from Florida to his friend in Oakland. And he was staying with his friend in Oakland. He didn't have the money to do an ACL surgery. And also at his friend's house he was staying had 3 flights of stairs. So he was carrying Howie up and down the stairs to go to the bathroom. But he loved him enough to, I mean, these are heart-wrenching stories to
know.
turn him in. And
Yeah,
and
it's
then
hard to see that, but
here's
they loved him well
Howie,
enough to get him.
after he's healed, we had Howie for about 2 months. And
Oh,
there,
yeah.
there he is,
Handsome
all
Howie.
healed, handsome Howie. He went to
He
a
was a beautiful
veterinarian.
dog.
He went to a veterinarian
Yes.
in, where was she from?
She
down
was up in.
by Half Moon Bay.
Oh yeah, Half
She was a
Moon Bay.
veterinarian, and a lot of times these dogs that have one TPLO or torn ACL, they end up tearing their other. So
Right.
he has since had a second ACL surgery, but we knew to place him with someone that would have the means.
Be able to do it, and she's a vet, so she understands what he needs, which is really cool.
He's
He's a beautiful dog.
Here is Bella, who was the one I was talking about where the owner didn't have time to, she was
Let
caged
her
all
out.
day.
Yeah, she
She
had
had
to
the
be
urinary
working.
tract infection. And then here's a shot of her. We took her for a walk with this family from Tahoe. And to see Bella walk with this little 12-year-old who had just lost her father recently,
Yeah,
the two of them walked ahead on the
Oh.
trail with a connection that was just,
I know.
they were
That was-
connected.
You could just see instantly she was connected to that dog. So it was another really great story about
and here,
getting a home.
then here's Bella, where the owners send us pictures of her. They taught her to swim, and she's swimming up at Lake Tahoe.
Yep.
So these
Happy
dogs
dog.
just, I mean, they adjust and adapt amazingly.
Yeah.
Daisy May, who, look at Mary.
Daisy May's a lover.
Here is a picture of Daisy May's, how Daisy May came to us.
Daisy, you're
Yeah,
old.
we volunteered to go and help handle the puppies because they wanted them to become familiar with human handling, and these puppies were so great. They were really good pups, but Daisy was not quite interested in being a mother anymore. she would come around and she was so focused on her ball. She would a pup would grab her to nurse, and then she'd just get up and walk away and drag them.
She was playing with the ball against the wall by
She would
herself.
play with herself, and so we started playing with her, and we were going to take a puppy, but they weren't ready to take yet, and so we said, hey, we'll take Daisy May home, and we'll help her wean off the pups, and so we brought her home, and Kane really came alive
Came alive.
with another dog around. So
People on the trail said, "Oh my
Yes.
God, he's a
Yes,
different
see
dog."
what you
And
did.
so we're like, "Well, we can't get rid of Daisy. She's
Yeah.
Kane's buddy."
So we thought, well, let's keep Daisy, and she's such an easy dog. She's a really great dog.
I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of an attention girl.
I
She
do
loves
too.
affection. She
Here's
has her
a
own
picture
Facebook page
of-
now.
I guess we kind of went out of order, but here's a picture of Kane,
that's-
who was our first forever dog.
Right.
And Kane came to us. You can see a big long knee surgery. He has luxating patella, bad knees, so they slip out of the joint. And he was 105 pounds.
He was heavy.
He was in Utah and in a kill facility, and the person said she could not kill him. And she was friends with someone at the SPCA here in San Francisco. So she drove him
All the
to
way
San
down here.
Francisco to her friend. They took him in to get surgery on his knee. And then he got into the Golden Gate Lab program. And we started rehabbing him. He was our first major rehab dog. We had Riley and we'd had Shadow, but Kane, because he was so overweight, he didn't come along well.
Yeah.
He is now, here's Kane,
He's 20 pounds thinner.
20 pounds. Kane.
Of course, he still loves his food, but
Kane.
he's in a lot better shape. And his other knee, it isn't required to do. He's kind of stabilized, the vet said. So
He swims,
been
which we'll
great.
see later, but what happened was it was 3 months and he still wasn't healed, and we kept going, we're going to find a home, and everybody said, why don't you keep him? Why don't you keep him?
and the longer we kept him, we realized he's so sweet because our friends up the street who have 2 labs, they're like, well, why not Kane? Why not Kane? And we're like, yeah, why not Kane? So he's a sweetheart. He's a good old English boy.
Yeah, he's a total English lab, quiet in the house.
Real mellow.
He's a Dudley. He has the yellow eyes with the pink nose.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's the thing about the shelters. A lot of people think California doesn't have kill shelters anymore. Well, that is not true.
We do.
And unfortunately, too many of these dogs are euthanized. And so that's another really good reason just to give a dog a chance at life. Keep them for 2-3 weeks. That's nothing out
That's
of
a
your
bridge.
life, especially if you have another dog. To
Even
bridge
if you
them
don't,
into adoption. Yeah.
just something to get out of yourself if you have a safe place and have
Right.
the time.
And
for
even
a
if
week.
you can't keep them for any longer, they'll take them to another foster for a while. So just give them a chance to get out of the shelter.
What other pictures? Here's Big Mac. Big Mac was
I
one
didn't
of our
see him.
Big Mac was one of our transports. We picked him up at a very posh house up in where Baldy lived.
Out the Delta, near the Delta.
No, that was a different one.
Oh, that's right.
This was what is that posh place called? Belvedere or
Yeah, Belvedere Island, right up in the San Francisco Marin County area.
And he went
He
down.
was a big guy.
We drove him down to Carmel.
Yeah.
For a home down there. So it's just.
Yep.
I mean, if you can help give a dog a
He's a really good
ride,
guy.
just pick them up from a kill shelter just to save their life for a day or two until things. Even drive them to Petaluma, our partnered.
That's the Canine
That-
Country Club where
that
they
helps.
keep them temporarily. That's a
It's another
know,
bridge, a huge
official
important
business,
bridge.
but they take care of the dogs if you can't foster them for a while. So and up there that's where they have the training, because the pier does the training there. So Golden Gate offers a lot. The medical, they check out all the adoptees. They've got them all lined up for you.
House inspections.
Training, house inspections, all
Follow-up
of it. So they
visits.
really give you a lot of assistance to take on these dogs, if just to foster only, and then also adopt. So it's a great organization. Been really happy.
It's been a
just
gift.
been a great part of our lives right now.
And I used to be
So.
the person that would write out the check because it was so much easier. And
Oh.
while we need the monies and the financial, I mean, it's truly giving when you open your house to these dogs and the gift you get back. It's just amazing.
I think they know they're rescued,
Mhm.
and they're so much more grateful, or something. It's really special.
And a lot
Really
of people
special.
think dogs that come from shelters are ruined dogs or they're harmed in such a way. And I think I had that thought also,
Yeah.
that they would be dogs that were difficult dogs. And it has been so untrue. There have been so many dogs that came owner surrendered because people have lost their homes or a divorce or, extenuating circumstances where they're just wonderful family dogs that, just need a second chance.
But you can always train them, and they just adapt so
They're
well.
so adaptable.
They adapt so well. So it's like humans, we don't adapt so well. It's a good lesson
That's right.
to learn, right?
And I got another picture of Emma.
Okay.
Where's Emma at the beach?
Oh, good. I'm glad you've got a picture of her. Yeah.
Here's Emma at her home.
Oh, there she is. That's a great pic. Emma is a beautiful girl.
She got to have a lucky
That's
mom.
her new home.
And I had one at the beach, but of course I can't probably find it right now. But she's one happy dog. Oh, here it is.
And she's the one who's got the mom who works for the SFP or the Humane Society. Why turn it? And she does have a little German short hair, so she's high energy. And she's young and she needs a lot of training. So that's what Jan is doing for her. And it's great because we get to see her and play, and she's kind of an extended family member now.
If we could, we'd have them all adopted within a mile.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
how we
that's-
originally said it. Only within a
Right.
mile so we can see them every day.
And we were so bummed that somebody in Berkeley, we didn't find someone in Berkeley that would be close, but
Yeah.
because we were thinking that'd be great, we could go and see her every day, but turned out she was belonging in Nevada. So
Do you think any of these guys want to go SWIMMING?
Let's head
I
to the
would
lake.
think so. Let's go
We
swimming.
are so lucky in that we
Yeehaw.
live close to Anza Lake that lets dogs
Yep.
swim, and it's 90 degrees.
hot
Let's go,
day.
kids. Want to go?
Ready to go?
Want to go swimming?